Look, I know I'm a nice guy, but I'm not sure that when I'm thinking about my future or even my time with God, I conjure up pictures of bunny rabbits and cotton balls. Today we're talking about gentleness. Ah, well, let's dive right in. Welcome back, everybody. My name is AP Raleigh, author of Abide, and I make Christian content to help both you and me grow in our relationship with Christ together. Now, gentleness, we're back in the fruit of the Spirit, Galatians 5:23 today, and this word just catches me. And I know it's been problematic time and time again, and everybody immediately wants to go, well, Jesus flipped some tables, and there's some issues on correlation there. And what does this word even mean? Because, like I said, I mean, I'm nice, but gentle is I'm really good at breaking dishes. So do I not have the Holy Spirit? Well, no, it's not the case at all. And I don't know, this word, it comes out as meekness in some spots, and what does that look like? And it's crazy to me that when we go and we look back, that this word is really defining having power and not using it. Gentle force is the word that one source was likened to use, and I like that a lot. It's calm force. It's not this intense power. It's not this incredible intensity, and yet at the same time it has the ability to do so. What the implication is here is that we're pulling back. Like, I have the ability to just absolutely blast and dominate, but I'm choosing not to, and instead I'm taking the force that I have, constraining it, and simply loving people slowly, if you will, allowing them to exist, not having the need to dictate my own will, my own way, my own intensity, but instead resting. Even in our conversations with people, I find that, especially when we feel insecure, and this is going to sound like we're jumping off track here, but when we have the Holy Spirit, and I find that it's incredibly evident when people are mature in their faith, because they, to me at least, the number one trait is that they stop having this intense fear around discussions of religion. They're talking to somebody that's got some other ideas that maybe aren't right. And, they can tell that they're not right. And yet the only thing they have to jump to is this intense aggression because of this fear that they're lacking stability and foundation. And that tends to be the number one thing in my brain that shows a spiritual maturity is you can believe what you will. That makes God no less true. And it makes him no less honest. And I have absolutely no reason to rake anyone over the coals for what they feel, what they believe, what they're going through. Why in the world do I need to shove this down your throat? Why do I need to stand on the corner, be a soapbox preacher, and tell everybody they're going to hell? That really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It really doesn't, because if I love them and I choose to love them, I can restrain the power, the knowledge, the whatever you want to call it, that I've got from God from years of walking with him. I can take that back and remember that God's priority first and foremost is to love them. And that, in my opinion, is what it comes across as this gentleness, not the idea that I am somehow this soft, passive Christian that's unwilling to talk, unwilling to do anything, unwilling to fight for what's right, to stand up for people, that, no, I'm just going to be a gentle fluff ball. I'm not somebody's pet. That's not the way this works. And that sort of rolling over, that's not gentleness, and it's not what Jesus displayed. But what he did display was this willingness to love, to guide, to explain. I've been reading John over and over and over again, and my pastor, frankly, he is the one that got me to start doing this. A recent message, and I just couldn't believe hearing this thought that we should really get to know Jesus a lot more if we're devoting our life to him. And it's like, man, I want more of that. And so I've been reading John over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I keep finding this thing with Jesus and the way that he operates, especially in when picturing gentleness. Because, he does go in and he flips the tables. But then at the same time, he goes up to people that would have had no idea, no understanding, and he calmly explains everything to them and loves them. And I can't help but keep thinking about this, the woman at the well, the Samaritans, and he goes and he preaches to him, but he explains so much that he was unwilling to explain to anybody else or gave him figurative speech or whatnot, but goes into all these great details, and that's contrasted with the way that he speaks with the Jews who should know. And there's a big difference here between these people that I am being intense with, that I am bringing more force to, this Jesus, that is, that he's bringing more force to, already have the knowledge, understanding, and they're willingly going against it. They're willingly breaking it. And so when he's coming in with this intensity, the gentleness is not lost. The amount of zeal, the amount of intensity, the amount of judgment that should be brought is so much more intense, so much more violent, in fact, that it should be, and it's not. He's flipping some tables, not burning the place down, which to me is incredible. And yet we go to these other people that are perhaps doing things that are far worse or sinning in worse ways, and he's kind and calm and explains everything to them. Well, why is that? Because he should be flipping tables there too. Is this just an inconsistency in God? No, it's gentleness, because they didn't know in the first place. They didn't have the intent in the first place. I mean, maybe they had some level, but he's willingly telling and explaining without using any of the force, because it's not required. Doesn't mean he doesn't have it. It means it's not necessary. And so when we're thinking in terms of this gift from God, and it truly is, this is, in my plainest terms, the understanding of who God is, the foundation in the fact that he's capable of doing whatever he needs to get done, that someone not believing in God or someone condemning God is not in any way, shape, or form going to lessen his power, his ability, and does not shake my foundation. And so because of that, I can choose to love them instead of going after some issue. I can step back and be at peace. And I know that political stuff isn't in any way, shape, or form something that anybody wants to hear about these days, and there's so much intensity there, but I think this, for me at least, is also a solid reminder that I don't need to go off the rails. I don't need to condemn people, because first off, that's not my job. My job is to show them gentle, loving kindness. And so if we want to take a stand, that's not a bad thing. It's good to understand, but I want to take us back and think, are we pulling this through what I like to call the validity test? That's clearly in the Bible, because it says all the law and the prophets came from the first two commandments of love the Lord your God, and I'll shorten it to with everything you've got, and love your neighbor as yourself. So in every act that we do, intending to show God's power and tell people what's right and stand up for the good, are we loving God with everything we possibly could? Are we loving our neighbor the same way as we are called to love ourselves, which, by the way, we know love because of Christ? We know love because of what God did for us. And so we need to then reciprocate that love to ourselves as we see God doing. Are we doing that? And then are we presenting that to everyone around us? Now, if what we need to say and if what we go forward with, if it lines up with that, then yes, 100%, it needs to be said, it needs to be done. But make sure in every way, this is the exact way that you want to be loved. This is the exact way that you want God to treat you when we go and speak to other people. I'm still learning how to do that, and to give us a note of it's okay on there, and we're all in a journey together. This is not something you learn overnight. Our entire lives are this process of building relationship with God, learning what it means to be loved, learning to love other people, and that doesn't even end when we die. It just keeps going. And so we don't have to be perfect, But we do have to understand that gentleness does not mean that we take away all the bark and bite. It means that we leverage that when it's necessary, at the right times, when it makes sense, when that in itself is a loving act. We don't leverage that on people when they're down or when they don't understand, because that's the same as just kicking them when they're down. So, something I'm learning, something I'm trying to get better at, something I want to be held accountable to. I hope this helps. I hope it encourages your faith. If so, please like and subscribe down below. And don't forget to check out my latest book, Abide, available on Amazon.